Hey everyone. You know, I didn't watch Genesis last night or anything. I didn't watch TNA Genesis last night. But I do have a question for a lot of you. And I would like to hear your responses on this. You see, apparently, well, not apparently, but recently, for the past few months or something like that, TNA has been doing, well, not the past few months, I'd say past year, maybe 6, 7, 8 months. In the past 8 or so months, let's put it that way, if not past year, TNA has been putting on what they call these free pay-per-view events on Spike TV. Basically their way of still keeping the 12 pay-per-view thing going, the 12 pay-per-view a month thing going, with the exception that certain pay-per-views are going to be free on Spike. But here's what's wrong about this. Here's what's kind of wrong with this concept. You see, when I would watch a TNA pay-per-view, when I would watch an actual TNA pay-per-view, most of the time, it would go almost to about 3 hours exactly. It's not in the realm of Ring of Honor, but it's close to the top along with Ring of Honor and maybe CZW as being the only promotions out there that'll give you the exact amount, if not over the exact amount of time length of a pay-per-view. You know, so they'll give you exactly what's advertised. Now what's crazy about this is, hold on for a second. Yeah, it's the Walmart card. I don't know how those get out when they're supposed to stay in the parking lot, but who knows? They're supposed to have little barriers and stuff, a little alarms or signals. But anyway, getting back to my point, the one thing that's kind of wrong about this, if you will, the one thing that I kind of find wrong about this is what TNA is doing is not a 3-hour pay-per-view or anything. All they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is just continuing on the event until next week. That's all they're doing. It's not a pay-per-view. Here's the thing, a free pay-per-view is the actual pay-per-view in its entirety. You don't just have the announcers come out and say, "Oh, well, this is so big, we gotta do it for 2 weeks." No, you don't do that. What you do is you put time aside to do the free pay-per-view. I mean, look at WWE. True, TNA is not really in the league as much as they try to be. But look at WWE. WWE, before they officially went to 3 hours, they would, if they knew they had a big event coming up that they wanted to do, if they knew they had a big event coming up, like say the Slammies or the Draft, you know, like the Slammies or the Draft or Old School or whatever you want to call it, whenever they knew they were going to do something like that, they would let USA Network know, hey, we want to pay for this additional hour because this is a big event for us that we want to do on Monday nights. This is going to be a special, basically they would tell them, this is a Monday Night Raw special edition. Whether it be the draft, whether it be the King of the Ring tournament, whether it be old school, whether it be the Slammies or whatever, they would always inform USA that they're going to want an additional hour and they would actually pay for it. Now, I'm pretty sure Dixie Carter and TNA has the money to at least pay for an extra hour if they want to do these free pay-per-views. If they actually want to do them, I'm pretty sure they have the money to do it. But you see, that's where the problem lies within. TNA's financial situation is preventing them from doing it. So instead of taking, obviously, would be the easier, and believe it or not, a lot more cheaper way out, or cheaper way to go. Instead of taking a lot more cheaper way of going, and that's asking and paying for one additional hour or an additional 30 minutes, instead of doing that, what do? Oh, well, it's so big, we got to do 2 weeks of it. No, you don't do 2 weeks. You don't do 2 weeks. You, to me, like I'm saying, you don't do that. What you do is you say, hey, look, we want to pay for one additional hour, one additional half hour, or an additional 30 minutes or whatever. So we could have our show so we can have almost a full-length pay-per-view program. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I mean, again, like I said, that's what I would do if I was TNA. I wouldn't go and depend on, I wouldn't go and depend on doing 2 weeks of one event because that's stupid. It is. When you think about it. I mean, if you're going to do a double taping, fine, do a double taping. But here's what you do. Here's what you do, folks. You don't, hold on for a sec. You don't you don't basically say, hey, hey, we want to have this, we want to do 2 weeks. No, because for TNA, you think they would realize with the financial situation, that's more expensive to do than doing an actual third hour or an actual additional half hour. I know I sound like a broken record here, folks, but I'm telling the freaking, from a wrestling fan perspective, I believe I'm telling the truth here. Because I think TNA needs to wake up and realize, hey, you want to know what your reason for your financial problems? Guess what? You're constantly doing 2-part pay-per-views. You're constantly doing it. And people are not going to like it much longer because they're going to think, well, what? All right. The audience, for example, the audience. The audience, for example, they're not going to basically say, hey, we don't want to sit through 2 hours or 4 hours of wrestling, because if some of them are used to seeing what Ring of Honor does, I'm pretty sure they don't mind. But the point is, folks, TNA needs to wake up and realize that, yeah, it's okay to want to do these so-called free pay-per-views, if you will, but it's another thing to say, hey, we're going to do it in 2 parts instead of one full event. One full event. I mean, like I said, this is what, whether you like how WWE's been doing things lately or not, this is what makes them more favorable in the eyes of fans. This is what makes them more favorable in the eyes of fans. And that is the fact that even when they were 2 hours long, or without commercials, about an hour and 30 minutes long, maybe 100 minutes long, an hour and 40, hour 30 at the most, hour and 40 at the most, hour 30 at average. Here's what made them more favorable with the fans at that time. The fact that when they used to be 2 hours, they would inform, and that was my dog in the background, they would inform USA, and I think even when they were with Spike TV, they would inform Spike TV, hey, we want to pay for an additional hour because this is a big event for us that we're going to do on Monday Night Raw. This is going to be a special edition of Raw. And they would pay it. And they would get that hour, or at least get that additional half hour. But does TNA do that? No, they don't think. They don't think, oh, what would be cheaper is if we did 3 hours instead of splitting it into 2 additional hours the following week. Because that's more expensive. That's more expensive than the average 2-hour Raw, than the average 3-hour sometimes event, or 2.5-hour event. I mean, the cheapest way for them to go, believe it or not, would be to do probably an additional 30 minutes. For right now with the finances, but every now and then they could do 3 hours. And I think that'd be best for them, because doing a 2-part Genesis, a 2-part Turning Point, a 2-part Final Resolution, No Surrender, Victory Road, that's stupid. You're not, because here's the deal, you're not presenting them as actual pay-per-views. You're presenting them as just special editions of Impact. And if you're going to do it that way, do it in a sense that makes sense. Buy that additional hour, pay for that additional half hour, and say, we want to truly present our thing as a pay-per-view, as a free pay-per-view. Not say, oh, well, it's a 2-week event. BS. BS is what I call it. And honestly, folks, TNA needs to wake up. This is part of the problem. And then last night, I don't know what people are going to think about this, but I read the spoilers for the live showing and all that, and I watched some of the video clips on TNA's YouTube channel. They got this new storyline developing with a mystery investor. Now, some people have already reported some sources like lordsofpain.net and other outlets have already reported that some people backstage at TNA think that this is a shot taken, that this is mocking and taking a shot at Jeff Jarrett for leaving the company, even though Jeff Jarrett is still a minority owner of the company. Now this is where things get interesting, because whether or not they fully stand behind, fully go through with this mystery investor deal, one or two things have got to happen. One or two things. They either got to, well, one major thing has to happen. One or two major things has to happen, folks. Either they got to start dropping hints as to who this mystery investor is, so that we can get a clue as to who it might be, and even if we don't see that person. Or two, they got to fully reveal who it is. They either got to drop hints without really identifying who this person is, even if we don't see them, or they got to flat out reveal who this mystery investor is. But you know, honestly, you know what this sounds like to me, folks? This sounds like to me, this mystery investor deal, if they don't go in either way, either it's dropping hints or revealing who it is, this mystery investor deal sounds like it's TNA's version of the anonymous general manager. Yeah, remember WWE did that until they finally said, you know, screw it. Let's just reveal a Hornswoggle. You know, to me, if this is TNA's version of the anonymous general manager, they either got to do what they did with the AJ Styles thing that was similar to CM Punk. It was basically their take on the CM Punk deal. They either got to go really through with it and then eventually reveal who the anonymous investor is, who the mystery investor is, or like I said, they got to drop hints. Because basically that's what this mystery investor storyline is to me. It's just their take on the anonymous general manager storyline from Raw, from WWE. That's what it sounds like to me. It's their take on that. And then, to top it all off, they obviously have entered a new era in TNA, a new era in pro wrestling. What is that era, you might ask? Well, obviously it's about now being real, taking real emotions, real stories, and new stories, and integrating real emotion, reality to it, basically working on realness. In other words, you know, oh, let's mess with a wrestler's family, which you're not supposed to do, apparently, which is a code in wrestling that you're not supposed to break. And obviously Dixie Carter's broken it. So obviously it's a new era to, basically TNA has ushered in a new era of realism. Like, let's become real, let's do reality-based kind of stories. You know, no more of this fictional crap. Well, guess what? Didn't WWE already indicate that they were doing something like that? That they were blending reality with what you see on television? Huh? Didn't WWE already indicate that, folks? So TNA, once again, is trying to capitalize on what WWE is doing? Like I said, there's a few things last night that really TNA needs to work. That to me, again, just like I said in my previous video, kind of showed to me that TNA is not, that 2014 is not starting out well for TNA. One, the fact is you do not start TNA, you do not start your new year off with your first of your big 4 pay-per-views, if you will, and present it as a free pay-per-view over a 2-week period, instead of doing the right thing and probably paying for an additional half hour or hour to really showcase that it's a free pay-per-view. 2, copying off a storyline by WWE with this mysterious investor, which is basically their version of the anonymous general manager storyline. Now, I'm not saying whether or not it's going to be better than what WWE had done, or whether it's going to be bad. But all I know is that, like I said, they got to do one or two things. Either drop hints without actually revealing who it is, so we might guess and have an idea of who it might be, or they eventually got to reveal somebody. They got to put a face to that mystery investor. Because if not, it's just going to be their version of the anonymous general manager over all over again. It's basically going to be their version of it. And you know it, and I know it. And then, this new era that they say they're going in, this new era where they're going to input realism, where a lot of the stories are going to be based on reality or whatever, based on real emotion and stuff. And to me, it's like, you know, to me, it's like once again you're copying off WWE, because WWE a few months ago, if not at the end of last year, already indicated they were doing that. You know, and you know what the biggest thing is? This proves to me that TNA, that some of the overall this here, the mystery investor storyline, heck, they even still mentioned AJ a few times last night. So, if they mentioned AJ a few times, then does that not tell anybody that maybe AJ's still with the company? And that this whole situation's been nothing more than a work? I don't know. All I know is that I'm not trying to say TNA's not going to have a good year. I pray and hope to God they have a great. I pray and hope to God that they have a great year. I pray and hope to God that they have a tremendous year, financially and attendance-wise. I really do. Growth-wise, financially, and attendance-wise, I really do hope they have a tremendous year. But they're not going to have a good year if they're starting off the way they have over the past few weeks. I mean, a week ago on Impact, you literally had a cluster blank, if you will, and I'm not going to use the word, but a cluster, you know what, with the whole AJ Magnus deal, that people were pissed all over it. Because basically, once again, TNA's ripping off storylines, even if the storylines from 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. Yeah, you know what that storyline was? What happened with Undertaker at Royal Rumble 94. Yeah, you all remember that, right? It took every single villain, every single heel in the company to come and help Yokozuna beat The Undertaker in the casket match. Gee, what happened a week ago on it? Gee, what happened a week ago on Impact? What happened a week ago on Impact? Oh, that's what, right. Hold on for a sec. And like I was saying, even though it was not similar to the Undertaker situation 20 years ago, gee, what happened a week ago on Impact? Oh, that's right. Same thing, maybe not as many heels, but the same thing. You practically had every major heel in TNA's world, in the world of TNA, come down and basically help beat AJ Styles. And as Solomonster said on his review of what happened, you basically made Magnus look like a coward. You made him look like a coward. You made him look like an idiot. The only thing that's going to benefit coming out of this, hopefully, is if they go through with this mystery investor deal. One or two people, I believe, if they go with, let's say, revealing who the mystery investor is, one or two people is going to be revealed. AJ or Jarrett. Guarantee it. It's going to be one of those two. I guarantee it. You may think I'm a little delusional, but guess what? I guarantee it's going to be one of them. I mean, why would they keep mentioning AJ if he's not with the company anymore? Where is this mystery investor thing all of a sudden coming out of nowhere, huh? The point is, folks, TNA needs to get their crap together. Because I know there are some TNA diehards that are like, hey, they got the American Wolves now. Hey, that's great. That's great. They signed Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards. Great. Terrific. That'll help the tag team division. And who knows, maybe it'll help the X division. And oh my God, who knows, maybe you can help the World Heavyweight division. The point is, folks, the point is, if you must know, the point is this. TNA could have some positive spots from last night, and they probably did. I got to go back and watch it myself. But from what I have read, from what I've heard, TNA needs to start shaping up, or else, like I said in my previous video, they're barely going to make it out of this year alive. And on top of that, they got to hope and pray they can get something, locked in with Spike TV, because if they don't, and let's say WWE comes on down and says, here's such and such money, we're back on Spike. TNA's out of the water. TNA is in deep, deep, shark-infested waters, and they're going to die. So if I'm TNA, I get my act together, I start thinking more originality. And I know, like I said, I know there's a lot of die-hard fans that feel that last night was okay, and it probably was. Heck, I got a kick out of the whole Joseph Park becoming a Abyss deal. I like that. That's one thing I do like about it. But if they keep mentioning AJ in the weeks to come, and like they did last night, and all I know is TNA, get your act together. You want to do the reality-based new era of wrestling? Fine. Take a crack at it. Let's see how far you go with it. Alright? You want to go with this mystery investor storyline, which is obviously a knock or a rip-off, or your version of basically the anonymous general manager storyline in WWE? Fine, go with it. Let's see how you do it better or worse than WWE. Let's see if you reveal who's behind the mystery investor. Who is the mystery investor? Or you drop hints. Let's see if you do that. All I can say in TNA, all I can say is this. Hopefully before this year's out, you'll start thinking straight and stop doing these 2-week free pay-per-views of things like Genesis and Turning Point and all that, and start realizing that the easier way to go is to pay for 3 hours, an additional hour, additional 30 minutes, to at least give an actual full free pay-per-view. It makes more sense, folks. So TNA, please. I pray you have a great year. I pray you have a tremendous year, a successful year, financially, growth-wise, roster-wise, attendance-wise. But the only way that's going to happen for you to make that happen is to get your act together. And these are just some things I think you really need to work on and really make improvements on. I really hope you go somewhere good with this investor storyline. I hope this reality thing works out. I hope this reality era of wrestling that you're going with works out for you. But you got to stop with the 2 pay-per-view deals. And that's all I'm going to say. And you need to stop copying off. I mean, next week you have the same thing happening to Sting that you had happen to AJ. You really need to stop that, TNA. You need, and hopefully maybe this mystery investor will make that happen in storyline. So that's all I'm going to say, folks. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. God bless, take care, and I'm out.